All right, so game 2 of the 1-8 series in the West between Houston and Minnesota comes your way Wednesday on TNT, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then you got to wait a couple of more days for game 3 at Target Center in downtown Minneapolis, Saturday, 7:30 on ESPN. But before we get to game 3, we got to get to game 2 and the adjustments that need to be made for the Minnesota Timberwolves. We talked about the Rockets, and they had some guys have down games tonight, and we presume they'll have better games in game 2. But you look at the Wolves. Teague was 4 of 9, Towns 3 of 9, Butler 4 of 11. So there's all kinds of room for growth for Minnesota as well.
I think Towns has a better game. I'm not so sure if Minnesota will change any of their defensive schemes in terms of limiting, those three-point shooters for the Rockets in terms of Ariza and everyone else that didn't get their three-point looks. I think they'll keep it in the middle, and this will be a series of Harden and Capella, right? And whichever one of those guys has a bad game, Minnesota can win, because I do think they'll continue to shut out the perimeter and keep it isolated in the middle where you're seeing Harden and Capella. And Harden and Capella is going to have to continue to get them close to 65 to 70 points a night. And when they don't get 65 to 70 points a night out of those two spots, then I think they could be in trouble.
I think for Minnesota, this isn't a scrap the game plan and start a new type of situation. Defensively, you did a lot of good things. You held Houston to 27% from 3. So defensively, I would keep everything the same. I would find some different ways to get Karl Anthony Towns the ball. Like when you look at the usage, Derrick Rose can't have a higher usage than Karl Anthony Towns if you're trying to win a playoff series, not right now. So what I would do is find ways to get him the ball. Of course, Jimmy Butler has to play better, but when your best 2 players don't have their best game and you're right there, you have to feel confident.
Yeah.
So Jimmy Butler, Karl Anthony Towns, figure out some ways to get them going, maybe run some plays where they're involved more together. But once you get those guys going, I think Minnesota will be just fine.
2 stats before we leave you. Houston is 5-0 against Minnesota this year, for what it's worth. And you mentioned Capella. We've talked about him a lot. He was at the podium with the other 2 superstars. The Rockets are 43-3 this year when Paul, Harden, and Capella all play together. That is a formidable stat.